And good morning. We are live and we are doing our coffee hour chat. And today is all about it's not about you. It's not about you. This is one of my favorites to teach and work with. Um, Before we get started, I want to ask you guys, share with us a time or an experience where, oh yeah, good. Thank you. Where you have been in a situation that somebody else made you feel like, um, made you feel bad, like my brain went, duh. Okay, let's start over. All right. So a time or a situation or something that's happened when it wasn't about you, but you thought it was. Like maybe a good example would be yesterday. Like I told you guys my fun little Mother's Day story. My oldest daughter had told me Mother's Day for a week now, Happy Mother's Day. And then yesterday she calls me and I'm expecting her to say Happy Mother's Day, right? And I answer the phone and she's like, I need Rocky's number right now. It's important. I'm at work. Love you. Bye. And hangs up before I even have a chance to respond. Right. So I could have taken that moment and made it about me and got upset. Like, oh my gosh, she didn't tell me Happy Mother's Day. How dare her not tell me Happy Mother's Day? But really, I know that she was busy and she was at work and everything. And I didn't take it personally. Like it was, she wasn't telling me Happy Mother's Day. So think of a situation that's happened recently in your life that in the moment you thought it was about you, and then later you realized, oh, that really wasn't about me. Does anybody have a moment like that they can think of right now? Rebecca, you got one? Let's hear it.
It's not recent, but this happens with my brother and me a lot. We didn't have the best relationship growing up, and we just started growing our relationship in about the last 5 years. So when he has things at his house that he does not invite my little family to, but he invites my sister, my mom and dad, and you know, but not me, I feel very much that it's about me. The reason why he doesn't, but usually it's not even for something, it's like it's something for somebody else. And so it's like, and I always like put myself in that situation. Well, it's got to be me. He's got to hate me again. Like, why are we fighting again? What are we fighting over this time? Why wasn't I invited this time? When really it's not, has nothing to do with me ever. It has to do with him and decisions and this and that. And I put myself in that place way too often with my brother. So it's something I need to work on and be able to come out of. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
it happened this weekend, but I didn't feel like it was about me this time. When my brother came to see me yesterday, he had just a little thing for his son for his birthday on Saturday and a Mother's Day dinner for the moms, not me and my sister as moms, but his mom and his woman's mom.
Right.
And I didn't put myself in that one at all. I didn't feel like and that made me like feel so much better when he came to see me last night and hugged me and everything. Cause I told him, I said, I'm glad you guys had fun last night. Mom said she had a good time. And he's like, oh, it wasn't something I invited. I'm like, bro, you don't need to tell me that. It wasn't
Yeah.
something I felt that I needed to be invited to. I just wanted to tell you that I'm glad you had such a good time. And
Yeah. 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 That is a super great example. Anybody else have any examples they want to share? Okay. So this is a super interesting class. If you are someone that takes things personally a lot, this is a class for you. And you might want to take this class more than once. You might want to go through this workbook more than one time because it is something we have to practice. It does kind of relate to our chakras, right? Because not having good energy flowing through your body can't always allow you to make the best decisions and choices and stuff. So, but it's an awareness that we have to grow to learn. So, a lot of people have a really bad habit of taking things personally. all the things. You go to the grocery store and somebody bumps into you on accident. Well, why would they do that to me, Or somebody cuts in front of you in line, and I would never cut in front of somebody else. How dare them cut in front of me in line, Or that person was talking so much and they just wouldn't shut up. And why wouldn't they give me a chance to talk? Because I wanted to say something too. How dare them do that to me, right? Or why would they ever do that to me? Or maybe it's you know somebody's disrespectful towards you. Why would they be disrespectful to me? It's all internal, it's all personal, and we have this perception of everything going on in the world is about us. Like, we are the star of the universe's movie, okay? We are the center of attention, and everybody else in this world directs their energy to us, for us, because of us, right? And that's just simply not the truth. All right. You're the star of your world, not anybody else's. Not even your significant other that lives in your home, not your child you've raised, not your parent that raised you. The only person, the only movie you're a star of is your own. So when you're out doing these things and you're interacting with other people, and this person bumps into you at the grocery store and it puts you in a bad mood and you have a whole bad day because of it, because why did this lady have to run into me like that? You're assuming that you were her star player in her movie, and actually she didn't even know you existed. Okay, she was having a busy day, she had stuff on her mind, she didn't even realize she bumped into you to turn around and apologize to you, because she's thinking about how she's late for work and what she needs to pick up for her kids for dinner, and, her dog just got hit by a car, and, all these other things going on in her head. You didn't even exist. However, you managed to ruin your entire day because you made up a movie in your head that woman intentionally went out of her way to bump into you and knock your stuff off of your out of your arms, and didn't even turn around to apologize. And because she didn't turn around and apologize to you, obviously she did that to you intentionally, and now your whole day's ruined because of it, right? You got to step back and remember, you're not the star of her world. You're not the star of her movie. um Today we're going to practice not making everything about us and not making everything mean something. Okay, so your mantra for today is, I do not have enough data to make this about me. I do not have enough data to make this about me. One more time. I do not have enough data to make this about me. So here's how it works, right? When we meet somebody, we do what I call the mind movie. All right. So when you go out to the grocery store and you meet somebody for the first time, um, the only version of you that exists to that person is the version you create in your mind. Okay, they don't know any, and vice versa. They don't know anything about you. So the only version of you that creates to them, or that exists to them when you first meet, is the version that they've created in their mind. All right. So we have no data, we have no information about the other person. We have no idea anything about them. But when we go meet somebody, our mind is going to make a movie up. All right. So say I meet this lady at the grocery store, and she's kind of got a look on her face, and she's kind of like all prissy and dressed up, and she's just kind of got this attitudey look about her. So in my mind, I make a movie up. I make a whole scenario of what I assume about this person, right? Well, clearly she wouldn't want to be friends with me because my fingernails are dirty and my clothes have stains on them because I live out in the country and I'm not very vain and don't care about that. presentation per se, and she does, and so she's probably not gonna like me at all because, yep, definitely got dirt under my fingernails, and my hair's a mess, and her hair's all done up pretty, and so she's probably gonna be a bitch, and she's not even gonna wanna talk to me, right? But the reality is I just created that version of her in my head. I made that up. She might be the sweetest, kindest, nicest person I've ever met. She might have an entire farm at home, and her fingernails are also never clean, except today she had something special. So she got all dressed up and dolled up to do that something special, but that's not normally her, you know? But I'm not even giving her the opportunity to be that person because I've just created in my mind a whole scenario of who this person is, how their attitude's going to be, and how they're going to feel about me, right? There's no truth there. There's zero truth there. That's all a mind movie that I've made up. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start projecting that, okay? Because what you assume other people are judging you for is actually what you're judging yourself on and what you're gonna look for in other people. All right. So if I'm judging this girl, and I make up this whole movie about her, how nice she looks, and she's judging me because my fingernails are dirty and my clothes got stains on them, right? Well, actually, am I embarrassed that I didn't take the time to put on nice clothes today or to clean the dirt out from under my fingernails before I went to the grocery store? Is that why I'm judging her on how she looks and how she's gonna think about me? So those things you're projecting. So it goes from your mind making up a movie into you projecting those things forward. And then you can also notice those things that you're judging, they are projections, like I was raised by my grandma and she was a very prim and proper lady. And you damn sure don't go to town without cleaning your fingernails. In fact, you better have makeup on, your purse better match your shoes, you better be all dolled up, and that's just the way it is, period, and you get up in the morning and you look like that. So maybe internally somewhere I do have a little bit of guilt per se or judgment of myself because I don't necessarily do that before I go to town. So then when I meet that person, that's something I'm self-consciously judgmental of. I'm gonna project that onto them. Well, she's not gonna like me, she's not gonna wanna be my friend, her nails are clean and her clothes aren't stained, and but there's no facts here. There's no facts at all. This is all just made up in my head before I've ever even had a conversation with this woman, all right? And then the other thing we have to remember is there's different rule books. No two people share the same rule book. All right. You might grow up where in the same town next door to somebody, and in their house, everybody takes their shoes off and sits at the dinner table together to eat dinner. In your house, everybody has their shoes on and they sit around on the couch or the chair or wherever and watch TV while they're having their dinner. All right. So you're raised in the same town and the same world and everything, but you have two different rule books that we're living by. You guys live like this rule book, we got this one. So that applies to everybody, right? So just like me and my grandma, with having everything all perimeter before I leave the house. Um, so we've got to remember that everybody else's rule books are not the same as ours. Our rule books are unique to us, kind of like the realities. Our realities are unique to us. And so when somebody's disrespectful to you, are they actually being disrespectful from their perspective? Or is that an unspoken rule that you expected them to follow? And now you're mad because they didn't follow your rule they didn't even know about. They've never in their life had to take their shoes off to dinner. Ever, not once. And then they come to your house because you invite them for dinner and they just walk in and sit down on the couch, because that's their rule book. That's how they do it in their home. That's how they've done it their whole lives. And you automatically assume this person, how dare them? I invited them to dinner to come over and have a nice dinner. And they come walking in my house with their shoes on and just go sit on my couch. How disrespectful is that? How dare them? What is the deal? How dare them? When really it was a lack of communication because you were expecting them to follow your rule book without telling them what your rules are. and then you took it as an offense because they didn't know. And to them, that's not offensive at all. That's how they do it every day in their home and have their entire life. That's not something that's offensive to just walk in and sit on the couch. But now you're mad, you're upset, you're not happy with them, and there's a lot of turmoil going on because there's two different rule books at play, and those rule books were not very well communicated. So you're inviting somebody over to dinner for the first time, you might be considerate of what their rule book could look like, and you might just lay out the ground rules. Hey, I'd like to invite you over for dinner, and just so you know, my family always takes their shoes off at the door and sits together at the table. That way they can be prepared when they get there to have a good experience. Right? But they can't be prepared to have that good experience if they don't know. Nobody's mind readers, right? Um, so there's sorting questions, okay? There's sorting questions we can use when we're in situations. Is this about my values and my boundaries, or is this about their behavior and their choices? So it's important to figure out what's yours and what's not, right? So we invite them over for dinner. I get mad because they just walked in and sat on the couch. All right. So some questions, these are where these questions come in. So some ways to look at, am I making this about myself? So am I upset with them because of my values and boundaries? Or am I upset with them because of their behavior and their choices? All right. Well, really, that's going to be my values and boundaries, right? Because my values are you take your shoes off at the door and everybody goes and sits at the table. They didn't act out of turn. They didn't do anything disrespectful. They didn't come in and throw their shoes across the house and hit somebody in the head with them, acting a complete fool. They were acting within their values and their boundaries. And now I'm mad about it because I didn't communicate that with them. So it's not something that they did or a choice they made. It's my value. So I was making that situation about me. Um, Another thing to ask yourself is, do I have any proof that this person did this to me intentionally to cause harm? So, I'm mad because they came in and just walked in with their shoes on and went and sat on the couch, right? What proof do I have? What evidence do I have? What facts do I have that says they know I don't want shoes in my house? This is the first time they've ever been to my house. There's no evidence of that. There's no fact of that. I didn't communicate that with them, right? So why am I mad at them for doing something they didn't know? What evidence is there to say that they didn't know it was appropriate to come sit on the couch? Maybe, there's nobody else there yet, so everybody's not sitting at the dining room table already. They're the first ones to get there. They don't know, so that just looks like the best spot to go sit. That's my values and my beliefs that I expected them to know without communicating to them. And now I'm mad at them just for being themselves and showing up and trying to make that connection because I didn't communicate that. Um A little reset we can do is we can name the facts, right? What are the facts? Then we can name the mind movie. All right. So, what are the facts? The facts are I invited them over to dinner. What's the mind movie? The mind movie is how dare them? They're so disrespectful. They just walked straight into my house with their shoes on, went over and sat on the couch, and didn't even come into the dining room where we're getting ready to have dinner at. And that's just so disrespectful. And why would they do that to me? Okay. That's the mind movie that I made up. The facts are I invited them over to dinner. It's the first time they've ever been to my house. They come in, they say hi, and they sit on the couch. Nothing about that says they're being disrespectful, but my mind movie has made it all disrespectful. It was all about me and they're disrespecting me. And then you can ask yourself the third question, what else could be true, right? They didn't know I wanted them to take their shoes Did you guys lose me? Am I back?
Yeah, we lost you. You're back, but I
Okay.
can't see you.
No picture.
No picture. Okay. There it is. So we got picture now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, what else could be true? You know, they grew up in a different way. To them, it's not disrespectful at all. That's just a normal go in to have dinner experience for them is to walk in with the shoes on and kick back on the couch and wait for everybody to show up and just hang out, you know? And then choose your response and choose the response that's going to protect your peace. Okay. And so in this situation, the response is going to be, hey, I'm so glad you came today. Thank you so much. I apologize for not communicating with you, but could you please take your shoes off over at the door? We do that here at our home. That's just kind of how we roll. And then we're going to be eating dinner together in the dining room if you'd like to come join us. So I got rid of the mind movie. I communicated my boundaries, my rules, my expectations, and then I invited them on in to enjoy the rest of dinner. Instead of getting all worked up and all upset and how dare them disrespect me, I took the time to go through those just real simple reset questions to get myself out of that place and into a good place so that we can carry on with peace. Um, so remember, your mantra for the day. I don't have enough data to make this about me. All right. Our mind is making movies, and it's our job to discern what that mind movie is, what we're projecting from that mind movie, what the truths are, and how there could be other truths, different rule books. And then putting it together to carry on, right? So most of the situations that you're going to encounter, most all the time, it's really not about you. It's about that person that you're interacting with, what's going on in their world, what stresses they're dealing with, what distractions they're dealing with, what habits they have, the trauma they carry and the wounds they carry, um their worldly view. It actually has absolutely nothing to do with you. You go to meet somebody and you reach your hand out to shake their hand and they kind of step back a little bit. And you're like, well, that's rude. They don't want to shake my hand. Well, maybe it's not rude. Maybe they're terrified of germs. Maybe where they come from, a handshake is not acceptable part of culture. Kind of like the face coverings and stuff with Muslims. We don't do that. Handshakes aren't a thing for everybody, so but because you're projecting your world and your mind movie, you just made that a disrespectful action when it was never a disrespectful action about you. It was about them and they're uncomfortable with that, and that's not something that they practice in their world. So let's talk about some good examples, right? um and the difference between not about you and what is about you. Go ahead, Rebecca. Okay.
Never mind.
Um,
I can't remember what it was.
okay. So the situations are not about us, right? But sometimes things are about us. And the things that are about us, those are those patterns that we let keep repeating, right? If you keep coming into the same situation over and over again, right? You keep meeting the same lady, well, a different lady, but the same scenario at the grocery store. You keep meeting somebody at the grocery store, and every time you meet them, you're presented with the same mind movie and they're judging me on my nails and my clothes and everything, right? And this situation keeps happening again and again and again. That says, okay, there's something I need to do different. All right? So it's not that they're judging me or that anything about that. It's that I need to make a change to stop this from continuing. I need to change my response so that I get a different response, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. All right. That can really hit good and hard for some people, but it's doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. If you do the same thing repeatedly, you're going to get the same results. So sometimes it is about us, but it's never the moment. It's the lesson. So a big one is attraction, right? The fact is I'm attracted to somebody that treats me badly. What is yours? What is yours to carry? What is yours to change? It's the pattern. It's what you're allowing them, how you're allowing them to treat you. It's continuing to tolerate the way they're treating you. What's not yours is their behavior. Their behavior is not about you. Their behavior is 100% about them. It's about what they think, what they feel, what they got going on in their mind movie and their beliefs and their patterns and their thoughts. It is 0% has to do with you. So what is yours is what you tolerate and how you respond, right? And if you keep tolerating the same things, you're going to keep getting the same things. If you keep responding the same way, you're going to keep getting the same lesson, right? So, maybe it's with the same person or maybe it's multiple people. Maybe you're in a relationship, it sucks, you get in another one, it goes the same way, you get in another one, it goes the same way, another one, it goes the same way, right? This is yours to recognize, hey, maybe I need to start making some different choices here. Maybe I need to recognize this pattern that keeps showing up so that I can see what I need to learn from this pattern so that I can make different choices so that I can have different outcomes. The lesson there is when you're talking about that kind of a situation is that we can have feelings for people, we can have attractions with people. Um, It can be even like it doesn't have to be an intimate relationship. I'm talking all the relationships, friends, family, significant others. We can have love for people and but we do not have to let them treat us badly, right? You can have boundaries. You can say what's acceptable in your world, and you can hold them to that. If they're not willing, it's kinda like that old, "My house, my rules" kinda thing, right? Your body, your energy, your peace, your rules, okay? And if anybody outside of that wants to argue and fight, they can be dismissed with love and best wishes. I really hope everything works out for the best for you. I wish you the best life you could possibly have, but I'm not tolerating your bullshit in my world because my peace is mine and mine alone to protect. Nobody else in this world is going to protect my peace. And until you find your peace, you're going to be in turmoil. So protecting your peace is so important. And so these are just kind of some real life examples. Why do I keep getting attracted to the guys that treat me like shit? Well, because you're letting them. So, what is yours about that? The lesson there. It's not the attraction, it's the lesson. It's am I holding myself accountable for the way I let people treat me? And what changes do I need to make going forward? Um Another good example would be when you're at work and somebody knocks over the pitcher, right? And spills the tea all over, and the manager walks in and they're like, "Oh my God, she did it." Okay. That's not about you. She didn't just accuse you of that because of you. You just happened to be the person standing there. She did that because of herself, because she didn't want to get accused of it. She didn't want to have to deal with the consequences of it. She didn't want to get in trouble already. She's insecure. Maybe she just knocked something over earlier today and she's afraid of getting fired. So when she accused you of that, it wasn't really about you at all in any way, shape, or form. Now, what you do with that situation is where it can become your lesson or not, right? Is you're going to respond in a way, the natural thing is to be like, "What?" and freak out and have this whole mode, but a more appropriate thing would be, you know, well, let's see if we can clean this mess up together and not worry about how it happened. Because maybe that's not important in the moment. Now, if it is a situation where it is important how it happened, then we could reply with, let's get this cleaned up and let's try to look at the facts. Maybe it was an assignment instead of like a tea pitcher. Maybe it was an assignment that was supposed to be turned in today, and this person's blaming you for not getting it turned in when actually they were the one assigned to it, right? So then you could be like, well, let's get this turned in, and then let's look at the facts so that we can figure out how to make sure this doesn't happen again going forward, right? And so then we can look and we can see, okay, um actually, it looks like this was assigned to you. So, I'm sorry that you didn't get that completed, but let's be more mindful of that going forward. Now, they didn't accuse you of that because of you. They did that because of them, because they're not wanting to be accountable for their own actions. It's not about you, it's about that person in that moment. They were worried about getting written up again because if they get one more write up, they're going to get fired. So, they're not going to take accountability for that. They're just going to blame it on you, and they're not trying to. It's not about you, it's about them and what's going on in their world. So some fun little like rapid fire questions to ask yourself in the moment, right? Is this a fact, or is this a feeling that I'm trying to make a fact? When you think something's about you, is this a fact? Or, so did they in fact know I wanted them to take their shoes off in my house? Or am I just making this feeling up that I wanted them to know that? Do I have proof, or do I have a vibe? Right? That's another good example I get a lot. Well, your tone, my mom, oh my gosh, she used to be like, well, it's the way you said it. And I'm like, well, I said what I said, mom. Well, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. Okay. Well, she always took it personal. Like and I'm like, mom, I'm just saying I'm not trying to have an attitude. I'm not trying to have a tone. I'm not trying to be smart assy or sarcastic or any of these things you think. I'm
That
just
happened
saying.
with me and my mom this weekend. Just yesterday, literally.
Yep. 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 And, the tone. And so, we hear that tone from other people and automatically assume it's about us. My mom hears me I say something and she automatically assumes it's about her. Well, what did she do? Or why am I talking to her that way? And I'm like, listen, I'm just having a day, okay? My dog shit all over the floor. My kid's crying. The laundry's piled up. I don't have any clean clothes to put on. My goats are, eating my banana leaves, and I'm having a day. And you asked me a question and I answered. My answer and my tone had absolutely nothing to do with you. I was answering the question you asked. You were the one that assumed my tone meant I'm mad at you, or I'm upset with you, or, I don't like the question, or, whatever you're imagining in your head over there. It's not about you. It's about me. I got all this going on, lady. I don't got a tone with you because of you. I got a tone because I'm having a day. Okay. It's not about you. so, so,
Froze on us.
so is there something else? My worth is not up for debate, okay? So another little mantra you guys can write down and use. My worth is not up for debate. So if somebody has a tone with me when they say something, literally I don't even care. I do not care, because the way you talk to me is not going to affect how my day is going to go. The way you talk to me and what you got going on in your world, I'm not going to let that energy come in, and I'm not going to let my mind make up a whole movie about all the different scenarios that probably aren't even true because you had an attitude with me today. right? My worth and my time and my energy is not up for debate. We're not going to discuss this. We're not going to try to work through this. Like, if you're going to talk to me like that, I'm done. Call me back tomorrow. We'll try again. It's not negotiable. Um, journal for you guys through differences and stuff and really some journaling on. But these are going to be kind of quick little things to help you kind of see different areas where we take things personally that shouldn't be taken personally. It's like, are you mad at them or are you mad that they didn't follow your unspoken rule? Right? It to you
You're
or
breaking
is
up
that now?
really bad.
I don't know. How about now? We'll just give it a second, I guess, is all we can do. Is it okay or
Sounds
no?
better.
A little bit better? Okay. It says it's good and solid. I don't know. Says I got full signal and strong connection. So I don't know. All right, now though, are we good now? Give it a minute. Not good. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. No. I guess that's it. I guess we're just done. I wonder if my recording is gonna be skippy too, or if it's gonna actually catch the whole recording. That's an interesting idea. I'll have to watch the replay and see. Um, okay, so I don't know. How about now? Can you guys hear me now? A little bit. Yeah, right. Over here, up there, down here. What about now? Hear me now. All right. Can you hear me now? It's like that Verizon commercial, right? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? How about now? Okay. So I'm just gonna give you a couple more. Is that your boundary or is that your ego? What else could be true? T-Mobile, yeah. What else could be true? So you assume the truth, but what other truths could there be? Like maybe they've never had to take their shoes off inside a house before or sit at the dinner table for dinner. What could be the other truths that that person has? Um, Also different filters, different wounds, different upbringings, different normals, different rule books. Are you taking those kind of things into consideration? Stop getting offended because other people don't know your rule book, right? Um, so something to think about here. Like I said, I did make a whole journal for you guys to work through this lesson, but where do you take things personally the fastest? Is it in your relationships with your family? Is it work? Is it the internet? When somebody says something on the internet, does it trigger you and you got to go in and argue with them, Because there is that. That's a thing too. um, what is your most common mind movie you make up? So when you meet somebody, what is your most common mind movie you make up? And then what about that mind movie might you actually be self-judging versus, and projecting to other people? And then now that we've kind of talked about it a little bit more, I'm sure you all have some more examples inside your heads. So think of those situations where you didn't really have enough data, but you made it all about you anyways, right? Just like the example, I invited him over for dinner. I didn't have enough data. I made a whole movie up in my head about how disrespectful they were. I made it all about me. Go ahead, Darla.
What happens when you have asked over and over and over, and it is a family member or more than the whole damn family? You've asked them more than once nicely to please don't do this, please don't do this. You put signs up in your house, and they still are just don't give a fuck.
Well, you got to do a couple of different things. There's a couple different options there, How important.
When they or when they call, I just dread answering the phone. I dread opening my door because I already know they're just going to be disrespectful and tell me to shut the fuck up, tell me to get the hell out of the way, tell me to go in my room. And this is my house.
Yeah, tough love. Find another house, you know? If
I've
the
already
people
done it.
in you
Lock them, lock my door. I mean, they just bang and bang and bang and bang, and they don't go away.
Yeah, if the people in your world cannot respect your boundaries, it's time to find new people to put in your world. And that's one of those really hard things that sometimes it takes us a lot of lives, or a really long life to fully work through that lesson, because it's a really hard thing to remove yourself from people you care about. You know, the other take there could be, are these unrealistic expectations you're having of them? And if they're not unrealistic expectations you're having and they're still not abiding by that, then you've got to make changes, right? And if setting the boundaries aren't working, then it's time to go, you know? That's the
But
hard.
I can't make them stay away because, of course, my husband's going to allow them here, and I'm just being a mean mom
Yeah.
by
Well,
trying to get out of my life.
here's the thing. It's okay to be the bad guy in somebody else's story.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if I'm the bad guy, but I just don't want to be disrespected. I mean,
Well, and that's something else too. Remember, you cannot control other people, period. You have zero control over anybody else in this world. The only thing you have control over is your reactions, your responses, and your choices.
Yeah.
So if somebody else wants to be disrespectful and just blatantly be a fucking asshole on a daily basis, there is zero you can do to change that aside from changing yourself. You can remove yourself from that situation.
Yeah.
And if you keep trying to do this over and over again, you keep trying to set these boundaries and explain yourself and validate yourself and make yourself worthy to them so that they can maybe change for you, then that's the lesson for you there, right? That's where you're really going to have to do some deep inside work. Like, how many times is it going to take for me to gather enough data to understand that I can't change that person? I can't make them behave the way I want them to behave. I can't make them do the things I think are respectful. I can only take care of me, right? So that's just a really hard one, Darla, but you can keep trying. But again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. So it's going to continue to be a circle and it's going to continue to be a cycle until you get deep down inside of yourself and decide how to change that. And
right.
how is that for you? I can't tell you the answer because I'm not on your path and I'm not in your world. I can tell you what I would do, but that's not necessarily what you're going to do or what you should do because that's your path. That's why I said you've got to do that deep down work. Sometimes we have lives that are not meant to be comfortable. Sometimes we have the good life that is a whole comfortable life. Sometimes we get the lives that are just not comfortable. But regardless of where you're at in your soul's journey, it's up to you to do the inside work to make that decision, to make those changes. Because if you keep doing things the same way, it's not going to change. And you cannot expect to change their behavior.
Yep,
Their behavior,
Darla.
I
I got
don't
to
want.
tell you, Darla, when I was about 30, 31, I realized that I was the villain in many people's story. And I was okay with that because because I was a villain to them because I didn't like what they were doing in my world and I had to tell them, you know, and I'm okay with that. But I was about 30 years old when I realized that and had that, you know, that opening of the third eye or whatever that made me realize that. And once you do realize that, you will be able to move on and really become not the villain to everybody is not what I'm telling you to become, not like, you know, a great Disney villain or anything, but just you'll be able to tell them and to use your words better, and you'll be able to set those boundaries and actually keep them too.
yeah. Yeah, it's a tough thing, and there's no one right answer, because it's your path and your journey, and but you've got to figure that out, and you can't figure that out by expecting them to change or expecting them to do different. This is about you, you know. What pattern keeps repeating? What do you keep tolerating, and how do you change that? And that goes, that's a really um we see that a lot with people that live with narcissists. Right? Because a narcissist's way is to beat you down and degrade you and demean you and make you feel like you're worthless and you're not worth anything. And then when somebody finally reaches you and connects with you and tells you, you are worth something and you're like, "Okay, I'm going to go." Then they're like, "Oh wait, no, no, no. I can't lose you." So they feeding in all the good shit. They're going to bring you flowers and, let you smell the roses and do all the wonderful, lovingly things until they get you right back in there where you're stuck again. And then here comes the fucking downside. And it's a never ending cycle. And it keeps going and going. And it'll go on for lifetimes if you let it. You have just got to decide when you're going to have enough information about that to stop that cycle. And it's not a right or wrong thing. I mean, you might get it after the first relationship of being like that, or it might take you a few, might take you a couple lifetimes. But that's information you have to really, that's an inside, you got to figure that one out. And we're all here for you. We got you. But, but
Yeah, we are, Darla. All you got to
I
do is
can't
reach
tell you.
out, and I'm here for you.
Yep. I can't tell you that that's an easy thing to work through, because it's not. It's not. But you got this and you'll figure it out, and just keep working on yourself and do the best you can do, and don't let the bullshit bother you. Their behavior is not about you, so start filtering that shit out and just do the best you can do with each day.
It took me a lifetime to learn that. It took me a long, long time to learn that is abusive after abusive relationship till I finally started learning something like that. That it's not me. It's not about me. To set boundaries. To learn when to say no.
Yep.
To learn it wasn't me, it was them.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough one. I think probably in my last one of my most recent lives, I finally broke that cycle, and I think I did it very violently and maybe not appropriately. But I'm the first one to call that out. Like, I can see a narcissist from about 100 miles away, and you motherfucker, you're dumb.
I
You're
liked it.
dumb.
I think you did it perfectly right.
I'll call them out, and everybody's like, "Oh no, you love them. They're so sweet." And I'm like, "Bullshit." And they're not going to like me either, because their first little, "Oh, be my friend." I'm going to be like, "Yeah, no, no, absolutely not." I've had so many of those encounters. And you know what's the best part is they don't like me. They see me and they instantly don't like me. They're like, "Mm-mm, Nope, you don't want to. Are you sure you want to be friends with this person? Are you sure you want to be around them? Because they already know, they can feel it in their soul. I'm going to call their bullshit out on day one and not even care. And if that means burning the fucking house down with it, well, sometimes that's the way shit's got to go. You know, we can get a little violent there in talking about those kind of situations, but your peace, girl, protect your peace.
Yeah,
Yep.
I bless all my kids, and I've already told them I've had enough, and I'm about to call the cops on them and have restraining orders put against them, or no contact orders. But that just means that I don't get to see my grandson with one of my children.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, that's not an easy one.
There's
That's not an easy lesson that you're in, you know? It's just not. It's tough. It's going to be tough. It's also going to be okay.
there is grandparents' rights. There's always grandparents' rights, Darla.
Not in Iowa.
Yep. Yeah, it is gonna be tough, you know? And these are things we talk about sacrifices with too, you know? Sometimes doing the right thing is not actually, you know, to be fully honest, 99% of time, doing the right thing is not doing the easy thing. It's not easy to do the right thing,
That's for sure.
you know?
It could definitely be one of the hardest things ever. But the peace that comes with it, the understanding that the deep total soul understanding that comes along with it helps you grow so much and helps you see so much more that it's completely worth keeping on that track and keeping doing your best you can, Darla, every single day, hon. That's all you can do. Every
That's right.
second of every day, you live it by every second and just make it through, hon, just like you've been doing.
And we are here for you, you know? We can't fix it for you or, you know, make your decisions for you or tell you what your right choices are, really. That's where you really got to do that deep down soul work, you know, that inside work. And you got to make the tough choices. Just got to do it. It's a thing. There's always it's always sunshine after a storm. It's always light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always a rainbow after the rain or during
Right.
the rain.
That's right. You know, and the two things we're guaranteed when we are born into this world. We're guaranteed with two things, all right? We're guaranteed that we're going to die. That is a guarantee. It does not matter what is going to happen in your lifetime, you will die. That is a guarantee you're born with. The other guarantee you're born with is things will change throughout your whole life from the moment you're born until the moment you die. Things will change. So it's up to you to decide what those changes look like and how those changes are going to affect tomorrow because the decisions you make today very much affect your tomorrow. Um so it's not all about you. That's what today is all about. Is it's not all about you. It's somebody's in my house. It's not all about you guys. I got to go see who that is. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll leave this on here and we can chit chat.